At this point, your head may be reeling, and you might be wondering why we must suffer through the pain of testing. We talked about why Salesforce wants you to write tests and what their requirements are, but who cares what Salesforce says? What's in it for you? I'm glad you asked because you're going to learn to love writing tests, whether you want to or not. Here's why. First off, you will love writing tests because it means you'll never need to manually test your work again. Your robot will do this for you. This is a luxury you don't have with declarative technologies in Salesforce. For example, if you've ever had to modify a complex formula field, you probably had to manually double check every single possible scenario to make sure things still worked. Not with Apex. Next, you love writing tests because this makes sure you don't break someone else's code. Imagine the guilt you'd have if you accidentally broke your favorite coworker's code and she had to skip her lunch to do an emergency fix. That would be heartbreaking. And the only way to avoid that outside of test classes would be to manually double check all other code in your org to make sure it still worked properly. That would take forever. You also love writing tests because they make sure someone else doesn't break your code. Imagine how angry you'd be if the new junior developer on your team wrote some poor code that broke some of your awesome code and forced you to skip your lunch to make an emergency fix. That would be devastating, especially if you had a great lunch packed. Finally, you love writing tests because it's an industry standard. No matter what programming language you're writing in or what company you're working for, extensive test classes are the norm, so get used to it. In fact, some companies take this as far as requiring you to write your test classes before you even write your main code. This is called test-driven development, and it's all the rage these days. But even though I love writing tests, I don't know if I love them enough to write my tests first. That's like eating the crust before the pizza. Nonetheless, as long as you're writing good tests, you're free to write them before or after your triggers. If you work in a smaller, less customized Salesforce org, you might be thinking that a lot of the things I've covered don't apply to you. And in a sense, you're right. If you're the only developer on your team and you don't have many triggers in your org, you don't really need to worry about breaking other triggers. But mark my words, as your org grows as a result of your success, and as your skills sharpen as a result of practice, writing good tests will become increasingly important. And one day, when you're looking to fatten up your paycheck and join a big company with a huge Salesforce org, test classes will be the backbone of that org stability. You will understand the feeling of paralysis one might have when making changes to the org because of all the innocent processes that could break downstream. Test classes will be your savior, especially during the interview process. So, build good habits early and embrace your friend, the test class.